And welcome to the Nasboys Sports Podcast. Now, did you know that the lowest scoring NCAA tournament game occurred on March 21st, 1941? Pittsburgh and North Carolina had faced off at Wisconsin Fieldhouse in Madison, Wisconsin in the East Regional Semifinal. Now, that may make it sound like the Sweet 16, but in reality, it was the Elite Eight. That makes it sound like these teams were on deep runs, but really it was the first round of the 1941 NCAA tournament. Only 8 teams were invited to the not-so-big dance that year. Wisconsin, Dartmouth, Arkansas, Wyoming, Washington State, and Creighton filled out the rest. It was Pittsburgh that came out on top 26-20 in what still stands as the lowest scoring NCAA tournament ever at 46 points combined. Now, that's really interesting because you get a couple of different facts there, not just that scoring game. So anyways, guys, welcome to the Nasboys Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Mike, a.k.a. Mike Bob Fan 101, with my good friend and co-host, Christian, a.k.a. C. Will.
What's up, guys? We got a lot of news to cover. Football, basketball, just so much going on this week. But first off, we got to start off with the NCAA tournament. It's March Madness, baby, and it's here. It's just been incredible. Just a lot of crazy things, Mike. I'm sure you've been watching the games more than you have in the last couple of years, as you've told me. But, yeah, just a lot of crazy upsets, too. Like, brackets busted. I don't think there's a single bracket left that's perfect. Number 2, Kentucky, who I had in the national championship game, gets beat by St. Peter's, who's a number 13 seed.
15 or so. 13 or 15.
15. Yeah, 15. Yeah, and they were last year we saw 15 seed make it to Sweet 16, Oral Roberts. And in 2013, we saw Florida Gulf Coast do that as well. And St. Peter's, they're moving on to Sweet 16. And it's crazy, man. Like, there's just a lot of games we could get into. There's a couple that went down to the wire. There was some that made me shake my head. Like, how did this team about lose this team? Like, Arkansas almost lost to Vermont. There was some that had me stressed, like North Carolina and Baylor, which my Tar Heels upset number 1 Baylor. So, there's a lot of happiness and a lot of fun. And then there's also been some pain because there's some teams that I really thought that were going to do well, didn't,
Right.
Probably one of the biggest shockers for me was Iowa and Richmond. I was so surprised that Iowa, that had been shooting the ball so well, could get beat by the Spiders. Virginia Tech, they were disappointing. Loyola Chicago, too. I thought Loyola Chicago was going to steamroll Ohio State, even though Ohio State was a better seed. But what was some games that you really enjoyed watching, Mike?
There were a lot of games that I really enjoyed watching. I'm trying to go look through the scoreboard here to take a look at some of these games. But the first round was really, really crazy. Let's see. The St. Peter's and Kentucky game, that was definitely a really crazy game. No one expected St. Peter's to go to the Sweet 16, so big props for them. They're the Loyola Chicago of this year. I know a lot of people were expecting Loyola Chicago. I personally decided to be smart and go with Ohio State, but I could understand why people went with Loyola Chicago, but I just didn't know. That was definitely a game I enjoyed watching. The Creighton game, that was another game that I enjoyed. Really, most of the games in the first round were really crazy. I was on the edge of my seat, switching back and forth to a lot of different games. Michigan and Colorado State, that was an upset that I predicted correctly because I felt like Michigan was in a much harder conference than Colorado State was, and they proved me right. And I thought they were going to get eliminated in the second round to Tennessee, but they, unfortunately, because I'm not a big Michigan fan since they're a Big Ten rival of Maryland, and I don't really like Juwan Howard that much.
Me neither.
They upset Tennessee, and that's very shocking to me.
Yeah, that was. I was not happy that Tennessee lost that. Yeah, like that was Michigan. they're doing better than I thought they would. That's for sure.
I mean, St. Peter's and Murray State. Murray State, I thought was going to have a pretty decent run, and then not to St. Peter's. I thought they were going to lose to Kentucky. I think a lot of people had Kentucky going to either the Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight. I can't remember exactly where I had them.
Yeah, a lot of people.
But Baylor too, man. That was shocking to see them lose to the Tar Heels.
Yeah, it was, but North Carolina, I was so worried because as a Tar Heels fan watching this game, I was on the verge a couple times about throwing stuff because we had a 25-point lead and then we choked and then our defense held up in overtime. But there's a lot of moments I'm just like, why? Like we just turned the ball over, making bad choices, fouling a lot. Now Baylor, I don't know what they were on because one thing that kind of bothered me was one of their players like got hit a couple of times, like hit his head a couple of times on the floor, and he was visibly looked like he had a concussion or something, and they still made him play, even though he was injured. I didn't like
Meyer,
that.
right? Myers or Meyer?
It was, I don't remember his name, but that was a mess. There are two of my favorite teams, Wisconsin and Michigan State, got bounced out, so that's kind of unfortunate. And Duke, Duke, it's Mike K's last season, and they're moving on to the Sweet 16. But as a North Carolina fan, I am not a fan of Duke, and their player Ncaa, I think he shouldn't even be playing. He shouldn't even be allowed. He had a DUI. He could have killed somebody. You know what I'm saying? And they still let him play, just like how Gonzaga's coach is still allowed to coach, even though he did the same thing.
Right. I agree. I
don't get it. I don't get it. It's like favoritism or something. It's just a mess there.
Right. That is. I mean, Wisconsin getting bounced out, I'm very, very surprised about. But Michigan State, I'm not surprised at all. Coach K's last season, he's just such a supreme coach. Now, my pick of the Final Four, I didn't realize Duke's roster. I was mostly paying attention to their stats, but I didn't realize how many freshmen and sophomores they have. They don't really have that big leadership, so I don't know how my pick of them going to the Final Four is going to hold up. But they could. Coach K is a master coach, so we'll see what happens with him.
Yeah, and right now, I predicted Miami to beat Auburn, and right now they're beating Auburn. I think it's in the second half. The last score update I got was Miami was winning by 7. Auburn was a 2 seed, Miami was a 10 seed. So I wonder what the score is now.
Hold on, let me check the score. Sorry, I keep interrupting you. Zoom thing.
It's okay. Zoom be like, but Kansas and Creighton was a good game too. I thought that was one of the best games of so far this weekend.
Right. Miami is up by 12, 62-50 right now.
Wow.
So Auburn, their struggles are continuing. Obviously, they made it past the first round. I had them getting eliminated in the Final Four. So that's pretty unexpected there. So now,
sure.
I guess we can talk about our Sweet 16 predictions. And, I mean, we could do it for the rest of the tournament. Sweet 16 starting on Thursday. Arkansas and Gonzaga. I'm going to go with Gonzaga, of course.
Well, I have to get to my fantasy in my bracket before I could say anything.
Okay, I'll just do my picks while I wait for you. Duke versus Texas Tech. I think Duke is going to win, but this is going to be a great game. Houston. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think Texas Tech will beat Duke.
Right.
Texas Tech has been a pretty solid team.
I'm only saying Duke mainly because of my bracket. That's busted thanks to the ref ball with Iowa and then St. Peter's. So Houston and TCU versus Arizona. That game has obviously not happened yet. I think Arizona is going to win both those games.
Yeah, I had Arizona going to the Final Four. And for those that didn't watch my video on my tournament predictions, you can go check that out. We'll probably put it in the description or something. But I had Kansas and Kentucky in the championship game, and I had Arkansas in the Final Four as well.
I had
So
Arizona and Baylor. Thanks, Tar Heels, for ruining my national championship prediction.
yay, we we ruined it.
I'm going with Baylor winning this one. Or not Baylor. Dang it. Arizona winning the national championship. That was a blooper right there. Villanova and Michigan. I'm going with Villanova. Please stop Michigan. North Carolina and UCLA. I think UCLA.
Yeah.
St. Peter's and,
No,
and the
no,
winner
no.
of Texas versus Purdue, which right now I believe Purdue is winning. If it would show on the TV what the score is.
Yeah, it's 30-24 right now in the first half. But I was gonna say, I think North Carolina could beat UCLA, and I think Villanova will beat Michigan.
Yeah, I think Villanova's winning this game, and then they're going to beat St. Peter's. But we'll see what happens. St. Peter's is definitely proving that they are a good team. The winner of Miami versus Auburn, which is looking like Miami versus Iowa State. I think Miami's going to win. They got a really solid team.
Yeah, I mean this one's gonna be interesting because Iowa State they're pretty good on the defensive end. And I think it'll be a very close game. I think I want to say Miami wins on a buzzer beater.
Ooh, okay. All right, so now let's talk about the NFL. Now, there is so much NFL news that we have decided to just cut it down to a lot of the big signings and trades. So we're going to kick it off with the Jaguars signing Christian Kirk. Now, Christian Kirk is a very interesting signing because he's a good wide receiver, but they overpaid him. He's going to get paid like what? I don't even know his contract. I'm going to look his contract up, but I know that it is a lot of money. Personally, I don't think he deserves that much, and it's really going to break the wide receiver cap room because there's a lot of wide receivers like DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, Devontae Adams, even though he just signed a contract. So there's a lot of wide receivers that, they're going to be like, well, hey, Christian Kirk is getting paid all this money. Why can't I get paid all this money? And he's getting paid for 4 years, $72 million with a $20 million signing bonus.
That's too much.
It's ridiculous for him. I don't even know if he was the wide receiver one on the Cardinals. So I don't think he deserved that contract. But otherwise, the Jaguars have made some pretty interesting moves, even though they released their linebacker, Miles Jack. But they did pick up Brandon Sheriff. They did pick up another wide receiver. So they were making some moves, kind of like the Patriots were doing at the beginning of the last free agency period. So maybe this can improve them on top of Doug Peterson. But I definitely think Christian Kirk, although it was a decent signing, it was definitely an overpay.
I think the Jaguars are still going to be bad. Even though they are going to improve a little bit. Doug Peterson's a great coach. I feel like it's just, that signing with Kirk, way too much money. And they used up too much their cap space. And why would they get rid of one of their best linebackers that they've had for years, Miles Jack? Why would they get rid of him? I just don't get it. It's like they're trying to get worse or something. But anyways, I don't have any further comment on the Jaguars.
Christian, I mentioned this a little bit ago, but speaking of releasing good defensive players, I think you're going to see more teams doing this next free agency because, especially teams with great wide receivers, like with the Chiefs, for example, they're going to probably have to get rid of some good players depending on their cap room because they got to pay Tyreek Hill. Yeah,
for sure. And Tyreek Hill is one of those guys that basically are like, oh yeah, we need to get $100 million contract. You know what I'm saying? He's one of those guys. So, yeah, I could definitely see that happening.
So the Raiders traded for Devontae Adams, and they did pick him up by signing him to a 5-year deal, I believe, in exchange for picks. This was a very crazy trade because it had no sign of this happening. Now, I thought next year Adams was going to go to the Raiders, not this year. So it's going to be very interesting to see him being paired off with Derek Carr. I know that they were good friends for a while. I think they went to college together. So that's going to be really cool to see that again. As for the Packers, though, with Aaron Rodgers becoming one of the highest paid players in the NFL, I don't know why he would sign that deal. I heard he did know that Adams was going to leave Green Bay. So I don't know why you would commit to that other than money. I'm pretty sure it's just because of money. So I do know why he signed that contract. But other than money, why would you take that? Because you're only going to have like a couple of good threats and you're not going to win anything. I mean, we've seen the Packers choke time and time again. So I don't think they're going to win anything within the 4 years that Rodgers has in this contract. And now I think it's a dumb signing for him.
Well, I have to agree with you, to be honest with you, Mike. The Raiders getting Adams is definitely pretty big. I think him and Derek Carr work pretty well together. I think they'll put up some big numbers. And with Rodgers, I think Packers will probably – honestly, I think the Packers might miss the playoffs this year, this coming year. There was not this past season, but the season before. Everyone thought the Packers were going to be good, and then they just failed, and then the next year they did good. So I think it's going to be a little bit of pattern. They're going to make the playoffs, barely scrape in, then they'll miss it, and then same thing will happen. So I think that the Packers are definitely on a downhill though right now.
Right.
They still have some players from last year, but I think that they're not going to be as good as people think.
Right. I can agree with you on that. I don't know about not making it to the playoffs because, of course, the season is in September. So we'll see.
A little too early prediction.
We got the Cleveland Browns have signed and traded for Deshaun Watson in exchange for picks. Now, Cleveland was very high on Watson's list, but surprisingly, it did not make it to the final two. The final two were the Saints and the Falcons. And all of a sudden, he decided that he wasn't going to sign with either of those teams, and he was going to go to Cleveland and stay in the AFC. I'm a little bit stunned by this personally because Cleveland only has a couple of threats. Amari Cooper, they just got rid of Jarvis Landry, and they haven't had the best track record with wide receivers. So I don't really know exactly how I feel about this. I do feel like Cleveland needs to sign another receiver really bad because you can't only have him throwing the ball to Amari Cooper. And they had also released their tight end, Austin Hooper, who was probably not performing the best. So that may have been a good move. I'm not entirely sure. But other than that, it's odd to see him go from one terrible team to a mediocre team. So maybe they could go to the playoffs, but I think that they need another weapon for sure.
I was kind of surprised that Watson went to the Browns. And I knew that if some other quarterback went to the Browns, that Mayfield was out. I knew that was going to happen. He requested a trade. But I definitely agree with your points, Mike, with the receivers. Now, Antonio Brown is trying to now join the Cleveland Browns, which then again, bandwagoning. And it's you hate to see it, but he's like, oh yeah, now we get to play Pittsburgh twice a year. I want to get revenge on my former team. But yet again, we see two women abusers on the same team. But anyways, I probably should have made that comment, so I'm gonna move on. They need another wide receiver threat, that's for sure. And Watson, he's gonna be a little bit rusty because he's not played in like 2 years. So it's gonna take him some time to get back into the feel of things. I don't think he's gonna be great off the bat. I think he'll definitely have to improve. And basically get back to where he was. So that's all I got with that.
I just want to say I feel so bad for the Falcons because they thought, oh my God, we're gonna get Watson. We're gonna be so good because it was clear. I saw something that said they're close to finalizing the deal, and then all of a sudden I hear breaking news: Deshaun Watson goes to the Cleveland Browns. And the worst part is they could have gotten Jarvis Landry and Leonard Fournette on the Falcons with Watson, and that just completely screwed it up. So Atlanta, I feel sorry for you, and they may trade Matt Ryan as well. They said that look, we're going to pursue Deshaun, so I don't know if they're going to trade Matt Ryan or not. I think I heard somewhere that they might, but
Yeah, they
I
might.
don't know. Matt Ryan is still a very serviceable quarterback, so I wouldn't get rid of him unless you could have gotten Deshaun Watson, but obviously they didn't, so I would not get rid of Matt Ryan.
Yeah, like
Um,
Ryan is a he's a veteran quarterback. He's getting older. And it seems like with all the quarterback talk, it's always the Seahawks and the Colts over the past few weeks that have been mentioned on. Oh yeah, he's the best suitor. Baker Mayfield. Oh yeah, he's a good suit for the Seahawks and Colts. That's what everyone's saying about every quarterback that's available right now. Or
well,
is
yeah, I mean,
rumored to
those
be.
two desperately need quarterbacks. I mean, the Seahawks
They're
are not going to
dying.
do anything with Drew Lock, and I don't even know who the backup is for the Colts right now. So
So we'll see. I mean, there's a draft too, so they're going to be looking at quarterbacks in the draft. But
yeah,
it's
I
not a
mean,
great year for quarterback drafts. But
yeah,
there's some guys that could be solid, but we don't know. We
I
don't
mean, the
know.
only guys I could really see being solid are Pickett, um, Howell from North Carolina, and I forgot his name, the old Miss quarterback, Matt Corral.
Yeah, Coral or
But yeah, I
Corral.
don't really know if there's anybody that can be a franchise quarterback. Oh, and Willis too. Malik Willis is very serviceable.
What do you mean by serviceable?
Um,
What do you mean by that? Like, I don't know. What do you
I
mean
think
by
he'll
that?
be a
Like,
good quarterback.
thrower or like running the ball? You know what I'm saying?
I
Because
think he's gonna
Corral
be.
can do
I just think he'll be a good quarterback. He seems like he's got a good arm. I don't know about NFL level because again, I haven't seen him play in the NFL, but I think he'll be a top first round pick. I hear the Giants really like him a lot, so
Mm-hmm.
the Giants might pick him up, and then Jones might have a similar Packers situation where they're like, "But I'm a good quarterback, and you're picking another quarterback." So I don't
Yeah.
know. We'll have to see with that. But
I
for the
saw
Baker, sorry,
sorry. I saw a post about Jones going to the Seahawks and I thought it was real and it scared me, Mike. It scared me.
I think he showed me that.
Yeah, I realized it was a meme.
Yeah. For the Baker Mayfield thing, I think that's good that he's getting away from Cleveland because Baker's not really that bad of a quarterback. He had a bad year this year, but I don't know if it's like on him or if it's because the offensive coaching. I think we have to see him in a different environment to really figure out whose fault it really was because people don't take into account that, the offensive coaching, they might be calling bad plays. It's not only the head coach, as many of you people should know. So we'll see what happens with Baker. I personally think he should go to either the Seahawks or the Colts because, again, they need a good quarterback. And Baker Mayfield is a decent quarterback, especially with those teams trying to rebuild. I think he's a good quarterback to start the rebuild.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Next up, we got the Raiders signed Chandler Jones for 3 years, worth $51 million. Chandler Jones, that's a great pickup for the Raiders. They started free agency very slow, and Raiders fans were really wondering, when are we going to make a move? And everybody was thinking, okay, they're not. They make that splash with Chandler Jones. They make this splash with Devontae Adams. So the Raiders are having a pretty solid free agency right now.
Yeah, they are. They are. And the AFC West is going to be very, very they're going to be very competitive
Oh,
this
yeah.
upcoming season, I think.
Oh,
We
yeah.
were talking about wide receivers earlier. Julio Jones, he's a free agent. I think he got released by the Titans, and there's plenty of people looking for him. Bill Belichick with the Patriots, Tom Brady returning with the Buccaneers, looking for another star to help him out. So we'll see where Julio goes.
And the 49ers and the Raiders are also expected to pursue him. First off, for the Titans, I don't know why they would release him. He didn't do that bad last year. And their
Exactly. He
offense,
didn't.
I'm sorry?
I was just saying he didn't.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know why the Titans would release him. Their offense mostly revolves around Henry, like the Panthers. You need that other person to throw to. You can't only hand the ball off to Henry and then throw the ball to AJ Green. That's not how football works. You need at least one more wide receiver, and Julio Jones was getting the job done, and then all of a sudden, boom. But you keep Ryan Tannehill? How does that make any sense? Julio Jones is not a bad receiver, and Ryan Tannehill is a mid-tier quarterback. So I don't understand that whatsoever. I was very shocked when I heard that. If the 49ers pick him up, that's a great move for their wide receiver core. They have Deebo Samuel, and I think that'd be a good move to pair him with Deebo. Patriots, that's another weapon for Mac Jones. Raiders, that would be amazing to see him and Adams work together.
Yeah.
And for the Buccaneers, of course, the Buccaneers, they need to get a wide receiver because why not? They're the Buccaneers and Brady's back. So I don't know. We'll see who picks him up. I personally think he should go to the Browns because I would like to see him play with Watson, and I'd like to see the Browns get that weapon for Watson. So yeah,
For sure, for sure. I lost my notes, so I don't know what's next on the rundown. So
we got the Steelers signing Miles Jack to a 2-year, $16 million contract. That's a pretty good move for the Steelers. Makes
Big
their
time.
defense a lot stronger. And speaking of the Steelers, they officially lose Juju Smith-Schuster. He signs a 1-year, $10 million deal with the Chiefs. Oh, God, the memes with Jackson Mahomes and Patrick Mahomes' wife are going to be insane.
The
The Chiefs are
TikTok
probably going to be the
stars
most
have
hated
been
team in the
good.
league. I'm just going to say this right now. No one wants to see both those guys and the wife doing those dumb TikToks. Oh, God. But I kind of figured Juju was going to leave the Steelers because he had been talking about it for a while, whether it be he wanted to go to the Cowboys, he wanted to go to the Chiefs. We knew he was going to leave at some point. And yes, he did take a pay cut to remain on the Steelers, but I just figured he was going to go within the next couple of years, and he finally is gone. But besides all the TikToks, I think it's a good move for them, especially for Patrick Mahomes. It adds another weapon, and they reloaded, so maybe they could try to make another Super Bowl run. We'll see, unless Jackson and Brittany get in the way again.
I like how you ended that. But as a Steelers fan, I'm glad we got Miles Jack. We have another solid linebacker. But with Juju Smith-Schuster, I'm not, as you said, I'm not surprised at all. It was going to happen at some point. He's not as much of a diva as Antonio Brown, but he can be. And I'm sure we'll see a good bit of highlight TikToks, or I don't even know if you just say highlight. I should say low light TikToks with him and Jackson Mahomes. So we'll see how that goes. But anyways, what's next on the schedule?
Now we got Von Miller signing a 6-year contract with the Bills.
Yep.
This is surprising to me because the Rams are obviously coming off the Super Bowl win. They had one of the toughest defenses in the NFL. And you would think the NFC West and the NFC in general was going to be scared of that. But now the Rams defense is decreasing. I mean, Von Miller's gone, and I think they lost their cornerback too, which I don't know if that really was a big help. But Von Miller, that's a loss, man. Von Miller's getting old, but he's still a huge loss for their defense. I mean, Aaron Donald can't do it all by himself. And to go to the Bills, that makes their defense a lot stronger. But I don't know why he would sign for 6 years because Von Miller, again, he's almost 40?
He's in his 30s. He's not. I don't like him. He's one of my least favorite NFL players. But him going to the Bills, that will definitely help the Bills out defensively, as you said.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know why he would sign for 6 years. I don't even know if he has 6 years left in him. But we'll see if Buffalo can make that long-awaited Super Bowl run. I personally think they have a great shot at it. But with the Chiefs getting stronger and really the AFC in general getting stronger, it's going to be tough for them.
For sure, for sure.
We got the Dolphins signed Raheem Mostert, or Mostert. I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce his name, but that's a pretty good pickup for the Dolphins. I was surprised that he left the 49ers, but they got Deebo to run the ball and to catch the ball. So they should be okay. I'd maybe look into picking up another running back like Fournette.
Yeah, Debo Samuel's a huge pickup. He was so good for 49ers last year.
Facts.
So good. And he's from South Carolina, former Gamecock, one of my favorite college teams. So, yeah, I mean, huge moves.
And then we got the Buccaneers officially reach an agreement with Chris Godwin on a 3-year, $60 million contract. Good for the Bucks, getting one of their best wide receivers back. So that was a smart move, especially with Brady. This should help a lot.
Definitely.
Now, Zadarius Smith, he backs out of his deal with the Ravens. I'm not sure what his contract was, but he did back out of the deal, and he was not the only player to do it. This is not a big name, but I would just like to mention it. J.D. McKissick, he was supposed to sign with the Bills, and he backed out of it because Washington matched their offer of $7 million, and he returned to the Commanders, which is a great move for the Commanders. Finally, they did not make that many great moves so far in free agency, and in my opinion, deserve a C- or a D. But this is not about the Commanders. They're not a big name team like the rest of these guys.
Well, they used to be back in the 80s, Mike. But anyway,
I know that. I wish I had lived in the 80s, but no, the Commanders suck now. So,
well, while we're at it, I saw this funny meme of the Commanders. It was Ron Rivera and someone else asleep.
yeah.
It's just me while live look at Washington.
Yeah, Martin Mayhew.
Yeah, that would have me dead.
It's true. They got rid of Matt Ioannidis, who's a great defensive player. They got rid of Landon Collins, or they want to get rid of Landon Collins, which, okay, he's not the best, but he's not the worst, so you can deal with it without him. They got rid of Eric Flowers and replaced him with Andrew Norwell, which I don't even know who that is. So, yeah, I don't know what to say about that. But speaking of DMV teams, the Ravens did pick up Marcus Peters, which is a good pickup for them.
Yeah.
And then the Rams sign Allen Robinson to a 3-year, $46 million deal. That's adding to their wide receiver core. So their defense may be a little hurt, but their offense is definitely strong.
For sure. And, I think the Rams have a strong chance right now as long as they don't have injury problems. I still think they have a strong chance of making it back to the playoffs and being in contention for the Super Bowl again. They looking pretty solid right now.
Right. The Packers re-sign Rasul Douglas. Not bad.
I don't know who that is.
He is the quarterback who I can't remember the player. He embarrassed somebody because they had turned like this and he had intercepted the ball. It might have even been Julio Jones.
High snap again. End zone and picked off.
But yeah. The Eagles bring back Fletcher Cox.
Yeah,
I thought he was going to get released or traded. So, yeah, that's going to conclude the NFL news.
And while we're at it, let's go ahead and talk about the meme of the week. So we're doing it in the NASCAR episodes this year, but we're also going to do it for the sports episodes. So there's a couple that were really good. There were some NBA ones. There was that Commanders one. But the meme of the week, oh, man, there was the one we decided on was this one from Disneyland where there's the Daffy Duck and Donald Duck and why'd I forget his name? Goofy. I can't believe I forgot his name.
Christian.
Yeah, so basically, there's that Aaron Rodgers watching Derek Carr and Devontae Adams ride off into the sunset, and he's left behind with no help. So that's the meme of the week.
Man, they got Randall Cobb back. He took a pay cut, but that's, again, similar to the Browns. You can't only have one good threat.
True. Now, Mike, do you want to talk about MLB next or NHL?
Let's go with the MLB. I think this is going to have to be very similar to the NFL, and we just got to talk about these big signings because a lot is going on in the MLB.
Yeah, there's
obviously the biggest move of the week, Freddie Freeman to the Dodgers. Now, Freddie Freeman, I didn't expect him to leave Atlanta, especially after they had won the World Series. I don't know what the problem was, whether they weren't paying him enough, because I like baseball, but I don't follow it as much as I do like football and basketball. So you might have to fill me in a little bit with this, but I think that the Dodgers, they get every freaking star player. They got Trey
Exactly.
Turner, Clayton Kershaw, Mookie Betts. How much more do they need? And how much
Exactly.
cap room do they have in baseball? I mean, God, Freddie Freeman is going to get paid like what, like $200 million a year?
Ridiculous.
I mean, look,
Ridiculous.
good for him for getting his bag, but ugh, man, I hate to see the Dodgers getting all these players. I'm not a big Dodgers fan. I'm a Nationals fan, so obviously that's understandable why I wouldn't be a Dodgers fan.
Yeah, and I'm wearing Brave shirt, but the Dodgers, I've always liked Dodgers too because the Dodgers were the first team I ever saw in person when I was a kid. And with the Braves, I thought he was going to stay there too. I thought he was going to stay loyal and all that. I don't dislike Freddie because he went to the Dodgers, but it's kind of disappointing because I thought he would be a Brave his entire career.
Right.
But then again, it's his decision now. I have to rant about something real quick. The cap space and the amount of money that these guys get paid. I talked about this with my dad. I may have talked about this with you, Mike, but it's ridiculous how much these players are asking for. $200 million, aren't you already financially secure? I mean, it's like, I kind of mentioned this before the NFL. It's greed. And there's other people that could use money or need money. You know what I'm saying? They could use that
Exactly.
money. You could pay the stadium workers more. You could pay media team more. It's just stuff like that. And these players are asking for so much money. It's insane. Yes,
Right.
the owners make a good bit of money too. And there was a huge disagreement, part of the lockdown that happened. But, yes, athletes should get paid, but not that much. Not that much. That's just
Right.
ridiculous that you would pay someone $100 million or more. And I've talked about this probably a long time ago on the podcast last year, but athletes shouldn't get paid that much.
Right.
They get millions. That's okay, but $100 million in 1 year. 1 year. It's ridiculous. There's other people that need that money.
Right.
That's just my opinion. I know some people may not like that, but it is what it is.
And then we got Jock Peterson and the Giants are finalizing a contract. Jock Peterson going to the Giants. He's going back to the West Coast. So that's interesting. Don't really know too much what to say about that.
I don't like that at all because he used to be a Dodger and he's going to the Giants. And I do not like the Giants. So frustrating.
We got Zach Granky. He's going to be returning to the Kansas City Royals for his second stint with the team.
Yeah.
Pretty good move for the Royals. Almost said the Chiefs.
One of them, one move that I thought was interesting too. The Yankees have been trying to get people Luke Vogt, though they traded him, I think, like a couple of days ago.
The Padres, I think, right?
Yeah, the Padres are trying to get a bunch of guys too, but the Dodgers, they don't have their what's it called, closer anymore. Basically, Kenley Jansen is now on the Braves, so we got a good closer now too to back up our already solid pitching. So that's very good to see.
Yeah, the Yankees, they re-signed Anthony Rizzo. Well, technically it was a re-sign. I know they picked him up in the trade deadline, but they got him back. So good move for the Yankees. Again, the Yankees and the Dodgers really get everybody. Let's see. We got Chris Bryant. I think where did he go to? The Rockies or the Phillies? I think the Rockies, right?
I think he did. I know the Phillies got Castellanos from the Reds.
Yeah, sorry, Cam. He's not here tonight, but he's a big Nick Castellanos Reds fan. So maybe next time you'll hear his thoughts on that. So I feel very bad for him. And yeah, Chris Bryant, he did go to the Colorado Rockies because I saw something that said he went to Philadelphia, but he didn't want to be there. But Chris Bryant to the Rockies, that's an interesting move. They had just lost Trevor Story to the Red Sox, which is not the Yankees, but I don't like the Red Sox. So, yeah.
Me either. I don't like the Red Sox either. I am surprised Story went there, but one huge surprise that surprised me, Why'd I say surprise? That surprised me. It's late, allow it. But the Minnesota Twins and Carlos Correa. I'm
Yeah.
so surprised that Correa went to the Twins of all teams. But then again, big pickup for them. I think that's a huge deal. Oh, they only got him 3 years, but that's a nice pickup.
Yeah, I didn't expect him to go to the Twins. I thought he was going to go to the Yankees. But, I mean, listen, the Yankees are my second favorite team, but I'm glad it's one less star to the Yankees because I'm tired of seeing all these super teams in baseball. So that's pretty cool. Kyle Schwarber, he was the guy that I was thinking of who went to the Phillies. I wish the Nats got him back. They traded him because they started this stupid rebuild, and they traded him to the Red Sox for prospects. And I was hoping that they could get Schwarber back, but I don't even know if we made an offer. And he went to their rival, like Bryce Harper did. So that really sucks. I'm not a Phillies fan, like I said, again, because it's the Nationals' rival. So yeah, not a fan of that move.
I'm sort of a Phillies fan because I like Philadelphia teams, but I don't like the Phillies as much as the Cardinals, Dodgers, and Braves. But Phillies may be much better next year. We'll see. Or this coming season, not next year. What am I saying?
Now the Royals and the Reds had traded. The Royals get Amir Garrett and the Reds get Mike Minor.
Do not know them.
Yeah.
Isn't Minor a pitcher? Because I remember his name somewhere.
Yeah, he is. LHT.
Yeah, Minor, I think, was on the Braves at some point one year, and he used to be on. I would say he used to be on the Royals.
Braves signed outfielder Alex Dickerson to a 1-year contract. They also signed they re-signed Eddie Rosario. That seems like a good move for the Braves. And they did get stronger, though, or reloaded at least. They did get Matt Olson from the Athletics. So that's a decent replacement for Freddie. All right, guys, we're back. Sorry, Christian had to reset his computer because if you couldn't tell on the video was really getting laggy. So moving on to the NHL.
Gotcha. So the NHL, there's been some trades. Yeah, so not only the NFL or the MLB, but the NHL has had trades too. The biggest ones was Philadelphia trading Claude Giroux. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name. Claude Giroux, one of their best players, to the Florida Panthers, one of the top teams in the league this year. Philadelphia, they end up getting Owen Tippett and 2 picks, while the Panthers got a 5th-round pick, Connor Boonhammond and German Rubotso. So I think that the Panthers won this trade for sure. Do you have any comment on that, Mike?
Well, yeah, the Panthers definitely won that trade. I don't have too much of a comment, but I do know that the Flyers are kind of struggling, so it's understandable why they traded away Giroux, or however you pronounce his name.
Yeah, I don't even know how to pronounce it, so I'm not going to attempt. One other big one was Chicago, the Chicago Blackhawks and Toronto Maple Leafs. They were in discussion for trade regarding Marc-Andre Fleury and Hagel and a bunch of other guys. There's a bunch of other picks involved in this, but Toronto basically declined the trade based on their future prospects, which is kind of a surprise, but then again, it's Toronto. Also in the NHL news, the Seattle Kraken, they got rid of their captain, Mark Giordano, who's 38 years old. He used to play, I want to say he used to play for the Calgary Flames for 15 seasons, and he was the captain for the Seattle Kraken, the new team in the NHL. He got sent to the Toronto Maple Leafs, and they did that basically. They were wanting to bulk up their defense, and he was going to be an unrestricted free agent in the summer. So I'm not surprised that they traded him. Also in the NHL news, The Vancouver Canucks, they basically got rid of Travis Harmonic, or Harmonic, not Harmonic. Their veteran defenseman, they sent him to the Ottawa Senators for a draft pick. I feel like they should have added more to that trade other than just a third round draft pick, to be honest with you. So another one too is the Boston Bruins. The Boston Bruins has been they've definitely improved over the past couple months, and right now they are they were doing good, and now they've dropped back to fourth in the Atlantic Division. But Boston not doing too shabby, but they ended up having a contract extension with their defenseman Hampus Lindholm, which is I'm surprised, $52 million, 8 years. So that's very big for him. And for each of his first 5 seasons in the league, he's been in the playoffs. So I mean, he's been a very solid player for them. He used to play for the Anaheim Ducks. Now, for the standings, Panthers still on top of the Eastern Conference standings in the Atlantic Division. Tampa Bay second, Toronto third, Boston fourth. Now, the Detroit Red Wings, they have been struggling, but they've moved up a little bit. They've moved up to fifth in the Atlantic Division, even though they still have a losing record. The Metropolitan Division, the Hurricanes are back on top of that. Even though they have a 4-game losing streak at the moment, they lost to Pittsburgh last week and to some other teams they shouldn't have, but they're still on top right now. New York Rangers are second, Penguins third, Capitals moved up to fourth. Now, the Western Conference is pretty much the same except for the Pacific Division, which we'll get there. But the Central Division, Colorado Avalanche still on top with a 44-13-5 record. They're on the 3-game winning streak. St. Louis is up to number 2. Minnesota is 3. And man, the Blackhawks have dropped. They were up towards the top of the Central at one point. They're hovering around the middle, but now they are 22-31-9, and one of the worst teams in the NHL right now. So that's quite a surprise. The Calgary Flames have moved up to first in the Pacific. So that's pretty interesting because I did not expect that. The Calgary Flames started off pretty bad, but they've worked their way up. Vegas Golden Knights have dropped to fourth in the Pacific. The Kings moved up to 2 and the Oilers to 3. So that's all I got with the NHL.
All right, moving on to the NBA. There's not too much NBA news because most people are focused on the tournament and also the fact that all the teams have practically been set up. So because all the deadlines are over. So Patrick Williams is going to make his debut, or he made his debut as you're watching this video. LeBron James, he got past Karl Malone for second in all-time points.
Yep.
So that's pretty crazy. He might be able to pass Kareem within the next few seasons.
It's crazy, you know. LeBron, he's just been setting a lot of records this year, and it's crazy because like every time he scores 50-some points in a game, they always lose. It's crazy
because he's really the only one that's doing anything for the Lakers at the moment. I mean,
exactly.
Come on, the Lakers lost to a team that's tanking. This is something here. We got former Mavericks GM Donnie Nelson is suing the Mavericks and is alleging that he was fired for reporting Mark Cuban's chief of staff for sexually harassment and assault on his nephew.
Wow.
He's also claiming Mark Cuban offered $52 million to buy Nelson's silence. This is crazy. I'm not surprised because Mark Cuban seems a little bit on the more toxic side. I really don't like him, equaling in term that I don't like the Mavericks. So this is a little bit surprising to me. So we'll see what happens with this. We know that this type of stuff happens all the time in sports and nothing really comes of it. So we'll have to figure out what happens.
Yeah, you know, I mean, Cuban is an interesting guy. I mean, he's one of the richest men in sports and in the world, arguably. I mean, he's a huge name, and you hate to see, stuff like this happen with ownership, but then again, there's always scandals with owners every year, even in the NFL. So it's been a while since we've seen one in the NBA, but now we have a big thing going on there. And, I hope it's not true, but I wouldn't be surprised if it is.
So after playing through a painful finger injury, John Collins will now be sidelined indefinitely. Sucks for the Hawks.
Yeah, it does.
Stephen Curry has suffered a left foot injury that will sideline him indefinitely. That's another big piece of news. But fortunately, he should be able to get going back for the playoffs, and that's really going to help with the Warriors. Well, not help with the Warriors, but that's really going to feel their struggle. What am I saying here? That's really going to feel their struggles right there. Yeah. So that sucks for the Warriors, but at least he could be able to come back for the playoffs.
Yeah, and I was going to say about John Collins, it doesn't help Atlanta. I mean, Atlanta's already struggling right now. They're barely above. They're in the play-in right now in the standings. They're 10th. They're 35-36, and they've won 6 out of their last 10, yes, but Atlanta is just, without Collins, it's going to hurt them, and I don't see them making the playoffs.
Right.
I just don't see it happening unless, some other people step up on the Hawks, even though Capella's been playing pretty good, and Trae Young's been very, very incredible at times.
Right. We got Jonathan Isaac will miss the remainder of the regular season due to his torn ACL. Jonathan Isaac, great player, but very injury prone.
Yeah, exactly. He's one of my favorite players, but man, what's with all these power forwards that just get injured and just out for the entire season? Just, you hate to see it. And he's a guy who hasn't had much time on the floor at all in the NBA, very injury prone. And you hate to see it. And the Magic are last in the East. So
speaking of injury prone, we got Jimmy Butler with a sprained right ankle. Butler has been very good this season, but has also been very, very injury prone.
Yeah, he has been. I mean, he's gotten better over the years in regard to his injuries, but sprained ankles, he's gone through that before. He's played through sprained ankles, especially in the finals. So, I mean, he'll be back. But, Miami's first in the East, so they're 3 games ahead of Philadelphia on top of the East. So, I think they'll still be able to hold on to that for this week, but we'll see.
And then Ben Simmons has remained sidelined with a back injury and is hopeful to return for a couple of regular season games prior to the playoffs. I don't know. With Ben Simmons' track record, I don't know.
Am I surprised, Mike?
I don't think anybody's surprised.
I mean, exactly. It's the same old thing. I mean, it's like every time we talk to NBA, he's doing something. He's in the news for some reason.
Right.
And Brooklyn's 8th in the East. They were first at one point. They're down bad. They're struggling right now.
Right.
And Andre Drummond's been having some things said. I think he was talking to Steve Nash addressed about Andre Drummond talked about they need to get their starting 5 set and squared away.
He's right.
And it's kind of a mess going on in Brooklyn. They'll do good some games, and Kyrie will score like 50 points, and then the next game they'll just do really bad.
Right.
They'll just lose. So, yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
So taking a look at their standings right now, we got the Heat is number 1 in the East, then the 76ers, the Bucks, Celtics, Bulls, Cavaliers, Raptors, and the Nets, as you mentioned. Then for the play-in, I'm sorry?
I was going to say the Hornets are 9th. 4-game winning streak. Let's go.
Yeah, and the play-in right now, trying to battle for that play-in spot. And the Hawks are 10th with and then the Wizards are 11th, down bad. I have not even been watching the Wizards last couple games. One was because I went out with my friends, and the other game was because I straight up forgot they were playing, and I did not care. And that was the game that they won. We got the Knicks in 12th, then the Pacers 13th, Pistons 14th, and then the Magic is 15th, equaling last place. And then in the West, we got the Suns, best team in the NBA right now. Then the Grizzlies. Warriors are in third, which is shocking to me. I know that they were having some struggles after the All-Star break. And then we got the Jazz in fourth, Mavericks fifth, Nuggets sixth, Timberwolves seventh, Clippers eighth, Pelicans ninth, Lakers in 10th for that last play-in spot, excuse me. LeBron James is really the only thing that's keeping them alive. The Spurs in 11th, then the Trailblazers, Kings, Thunder, and then last is the Rockets.
So, I was going to say Timberwolves, they're on a 4-game win streak right now. They beat LA last week. They're moved up. They're 42-30. Minnesota, even though they've been really bad the last 2-3 seasons, they're in the playoffs right now, and they're a really solid team. I've been watching some of their highlights, and the Pelicans, I mentioned this the last time I was on the sports podcast. The Pelicans are on a run right now. They were down at the 13th 2 months ago, maybe a month ago, and then now they're all the way up to 9th. The Pelicans are a sleeper team. I don't think they're going to be a contending playoff team this year, but they're still really good. I think they've definitely improved. And the Lakers, as you said, down bad, Austin Reeves has been fun to watch. He's a pretty solid player, but other than that, LA's just struggling.
Right. All right. So finally, we got soccer news.
Yeah. MLS, the season started I want to say it was 2 Saturdays ago. The Charlotte FC, new team in the Queen City. I was thinking about going to their first game of the year, but I didn't. Is the same date I'm with the Rockingham. But right now, they've only won 1 game and they've lost 3. But right now, on top of the standings for MLS, is the Philadelphia Union. They're 3-1-0, which the one in the middle is a draw. The Columbus Crew. I'm surprised Columbus is this high, but they against the start of the season. In the Western Conference, on top of that is Real Salt Lake. They're 3-1-0. They have 10 points overall. Minnesota United FC are second. Austin's third right now. They did draw with Seattle today in a 1-1 game. The Crew and the Red Bulls, they drew today as well. But Nashville SC, they gave Real Salt Lake a good game, but basically Tate Schmidt, he had the game-winning goal late in that game to give them a 2-1 win. But other than that, there isn't a whole lot of news. There is a lot of games and scores, but not any crazy news going on in the MLS. But as the season goes along, we'll continue to update y'all on soccer and the World Cup and all that going on.
Right.
So, yep.
All right, so time for the top 10 plays of the week. Coming in at number 10 is the Notre Dame game-winning layup that sent them to the NCAA tournament.
Stay disciplined.
Defend without fouling.
The freshman with the basketball. Wesley heads to the hoop. Wesley off balance shot, no good. Atkinson put back. It's good. 1.4 to play.
Next up, we got Alpern Segun's impressive handles and self alley-oop
Of the season for him. Oh my goodness! Shinguku, he tapped it in! He dropped Javale McGee, tried to throw himself the lob off the glass.
Oh, he drops McGee, who's reaching.
I can't believe he tried that.
He did in the middle of the game. And if Craig didn't have the awareness to jump over.
Roll the clip.
In at number 8, this one hurts to say, Spencer Dinwiddie game winner.
Clarkson on the switch. Now draws the double. Gives it up. Dinwiddie for 3. And it goes down. Back-to-back game winners by Spencer Dinwiddie. He did it Sunday in Boston. He does it tonight in Brooklyn at the gun. 113-111. Mavs win it.
Why couldn't you do that in Washington? But moving on to number 7, we got Kyle Anderson's big rejection.
Şengün with the defensive rebound. Green trying to back it, and Kyle Anderson with the denial.
And at number 6, Molly McGrath spinning back fist KO.
Next up at number 5, we got this huge block to end the AAU game. That was definitely one of the best blocks I've seen this week. There was another one I saw the other day in the tournament game. I think it was what game was it? I think it was the LSU game. Got absolutely swatted into like the second row. That one's definitely an honorable mention.
And there's the steal. Brockington, a foot race to the right, and he's turned back. My goodness. Eric Gaines with a defensive gem.
Yeah, I remember that one. I couldn't find it, though, unfortunately. But maybe when I edit the video, I'll probably put it in. But at number 4, Portland Trailblazers impressive hustle for the bucket.
Over to Watford, cross-court pass intercepted by Dunn, makes a great catch. Jumps on top of the scorer's table, grabbed away by Williams, who wrestles it free off the deck, and then playing through.
Here he goes. Watch him stick the landing on the table. Wow. Now his teammates will do the rest. Once he saves this ball, gets it back into play, Brandon getting on the floor to make sure he secures it.
Next, we got this between the legs self alley-oop, which took place not too far from where I live. This highlight was from. It was a very impressive high school dunk.
Get up, Bryant!
Here's the video.
And at number 2, Texas State full court shot, but it unfortunately didn't count.
Good defense by the Bobcats to end the half. That 80-footer won't count. TJ Johnson says, let's review it, but do believe that was after the clock expired.
Yeah, that was insane. But at number 1, we got Marcus Smart with the behind-the-back granny shot from courtside seats. I did not see this one, so I will whenever this episode is released. But man, that's our top 10 this week.
Yeah. Well, that's going to conclude this week's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. Comment, like, and subscribe. Make sure you guys follow our socials, and we will see you guys in the next episode. Peace.
See y'all.